Welcome back to Pokemon episode summaries. Today, I'll be doing episode 451, New Plot, Odd Lot. The episode begins with Ash and the gang having arrived at a Pokemon Center in Mulberry City, with May having her Pokemon treated by Nurse Joy and her Chansey so that they were all ready for her upcoming contest. Chansey, followed by Nurse Joy, walked up to May with all four of her Pokemon, Eevee, Combuskin, Munchlax, and Squirtle, on a stretcher. And Nurse Joy confirmed that all of May's Pokemon were healed and raring to go, and extremely well trained, which she was able to tell after analyzing them. May thanked Nurse Joy for all her help, and turned to all her Pokemon as she asked them to do their best for her in the contest, whoever she would choose to use anyway, and they all replied happily smiling and excited at the prospect of another contest. May was excited too, but she was also very nervous that she may lose the contest, and was preparing herself mentally to give it her all. When Nurse Joy heard May mention the contest, she asked if May was really entering, which May confirmed. Joy wished May immense luck, mentioning that the Kanto Grand Festival will be taking place in a month's time, so this Mulberry contest will be the last one before the festival started, so therefore it would be May's last chance to obtain her fifth and final ribbon, which May nervously pointed out to Joy, informing her that she had 4 ribbons. Hearing that this would be the final contest before the Grand Festival, May became shocked and immensely nervous that she would fail and not get her final ribbon, with Nurse Joy commenting that if she wanted to get into the Grand Festival, it would have to be because of this upcoming contest. May instantly felt immense pressure. She didn't know this would be her last chance, but I guess she would have to suck it up. Regardless of May being extremely nervous about failing the contest, she still went to the contest hall to register because, she might as well. Otherwise, she would just not be able to enter, period. To calm May down, Ash and the gang decided to sit and relax at a table in the contest hall, or at least the registration area, to have some juice. May gulped down her juice in one fucking gulp, though, because she was too nervous to enjoy it, and was like slamming her head against the table. It was not a fun time, and she was stressing about how Drew had likely gotten all 5 of his ribbons, so if she didn't, then he would just make fun of her. Brock and Max tried to hype May up, asking her why the fuck she was getting so bent out of shape when she could obviously win, although this didn't help out May's nervousness at all. So Ash jumped in and told her not to worry, offering to have a battle with her to help her prepare for the contest. This finally made May happy, and she agreed, but just before she and Ash could get up to go train, Ash and the gang were all startled. Since Brock, Ash, and Max had seen something behind May, May asked what it was, not wanting to turn back, fearing that it was something scary, when a familiar voice whispered into her ear, "Harley's," causing May to scream in shock and jump in fear. Although Harley just smiled innocently and greets Ash, Max, and Brock, calling them May's boys, which confused Ash. Obviously, Ash and the gang were not happy to see Harley at all, and Max questioned what Harley wanted this time. Harley was very annoyed at Max's ignorance, stating that he obviously was in the contest hall, so he could participate in the contest too. May then declares, however, that she would win the contest and the ribbon, so he might as well not even enter. Harley simply said he wasn't worried, but just then, his cactus-themed ribbon case falls out of his jacket and onto the floor. May picks it up to give it back to Harley, and she stares in shock at the fact that Harley had 5 ribbons in his ribbon case already, 1 more than May, and the right amount to get into the Grand Festival. Harley laughed as he clarified that he wasn't actually entering the contest, he was only here to watch other coordinators who had struggled to do as well as he had, such as May, for example. And he grabs his match case back and left while taunting May that he hoped that she would lose. He then playfully said goodbye, and with that, he was gone, leaving May absolutely furious as she stared at where Harley once stood. May was super fired up by Harley's taunting and demanded that Ash get up and go train with her outside, and Ash agrees, and the two of them run off, leaving Max and Brock in the contest hall, watching them run off, very happy to see May's renewed spirit, with Brock commenting that Harley was at least good for firing May up, and making her not nervous anymore. Anyways, outside, May and Ash were going to battle each other, with May using Combuskin and Ash using Pikachu, with May having recalled the rest of her Pokemon. Combuskin started off with a Fire Spin, but Pikachu dodged and used a Thunderbolt right as Brock and Max came out to watch the battle, with Brock commenting on how Harley had forced May to push herself and renew her spirits via their rivalry. Max agreed as the battle continued, while Max watched in awe of both May and Ash's strength, with Ash admitting that he was having a really good time battling, and May agreeing. Ash then tells May that she needed to trust her Pokemon if she wanted to win the contest, because if she trusted them, they would trust her as well. And May was very thankful for this advice. Meanwhile, as for Team Rocket, somewhere in a little field of shrubs by the contest hall, Jessie was preparing herself for the Mulberry contest she was going to enter as well, in front of James, Meowth, and Wobbuffet, with Jessie claiming that she would be a top coordinator, with the help of her all-new Jezebel disguise, which she had been able to buy thanks to the money that was collected during last contest. Although James was kind of mad that he now had an empty wallet, since all of the money had been spent on Jessie's new Jezebel outfit. Every single bit of the money. Jessie could sense James's annoyance, so she told him not to worry about money, because when she won and became a top coordinator, she would likely get a whole bunch of money, even if she just sold the trophy that she won. Jessie then walks over to Meowth and informs him that he would be the Pokemon she would use for the contest. Jessie then bends down to Meowth and goes into detail about what she was going to have him do during the contest, and we see a little vision of this, in which Lillian officially introduces Meowth as he jumps out onto the stage. That was pretty traditional looking, and he was wearing a traditional Japanese outfit, and he tells some jokes, making the crowd laugh. Basically, Jesse's plan was to have Meowth do a comedic act, although Meowth literally threatened to slash Jessie, interrupting her fantasy of all the judges, giving her a very high score for making Meowth tell jokes. Since he didn't want to tell fucking jokes, he wanted to show off his battle skills, such as his Fury Swipes. Although Jessie angrily shouted at Meowth, saying that he had no choice, and he had to obey to what Jessie wanted. Meowth was actually scared of Jessie now, and ran over to James and Wobbuffet for help, when suddenly Jessie's yelling was interrupted by Harley approaching, as he grabbed a hold of Jessie's hands, admitting that he was a big Jezebel fan. Meowth and James were preparing for Harley to fucking simp over Jessie, being a fan, and they were uncomfortable about this. They didn't want to see it. And Meowth and James didn't even know why the fuck Harley was even with them, remembering him from before, leading Harley to briefly acknowledge James and Meowth, admitting that he remembered them as members of Team Rocket, along with Wobbuffet. Jessie actually was not convinced that Harley was actually her fan, reminding him that she fucking laughed at him the last time they met, but Harley assured her that he was a big fan of hers, and in fact, he wanted to help her out in the upcoming contest, be her partner, basically. Jessie blushed and asked if he really meant this, with Harley confirming, saying that he had an idea. For the contest, he would let her use his Pokémon. And Team Rocket was shocked, asking if they had to do anything in return, but Harley told them otherwise, admitting that he was very aware that Jessie had lost every single contest that she entered, basically, but that's why he wanted to help her, and assured her that he would be a very, very, very great helper, since he had collected all 5 of his ribbons, and he showed them off, saying that he had already entered the Canterbury Festival, or he was already able to, at least. The sight of seeing all 5 of these ribbons caused all of Team Rocket to bow down to their knees, worshipping Harley as their master, although Jessie questioned why Harley was being so nice to someone like her, and was letting her use his Pokemon when she was losing so much, with Harley bitterly explaining that he was helping Team Rocket because he wanted them to eliminate May from the contest, his most hated rival. Basically, he wanted to find a way to get May out of the contest, since he couldn't enter himself. James asked why Harley hated May so much in the first place, so Harley looked down sadly and explained his childhood backstory. Through a flashback, while Team Rocket stood up in a more outright position. Basically, when he was a kid, he used to go to school, obviously. And Harley's favorite part of school was the free lunch boxes that he would be given. He even remembered his had an artillery on it. These lunchtimes, where he would eat a whole bunch of delicious Pokemon-themed food, were some of his favorite moments in his entire childhood, because he would always be eating with his close friends and with his teachers. It was fucking awesome. His favorite snack was one shaped like an artillery, and he would always save it for last, so he could happily examine the food before he ate it, for some fucking reason. But one day, while he was looking at this great artillery-shaped snack, a girl who looked a lot like May, even though it wasn't her, it was just her doppelganger, walked up behind him and stole his last bit of food, the artillery food, picking it up with a fork and eating it whole before leaving and sarcastically thanking Harley for the food, leaving Harley alone on the verge of crying. So he goes outside and bangs his head against a tree as he continues to cry over his precious lost food, vowing to get his revenge against that girl. But since he believed that this girl was actually May, that's why he wanted revenge against her. That was his entire reason for hating her this entire fucking time, I guess. And why he was so set off by May not liking the cookies he made, because you were like, he was like, oh, you don't like this, but you like the food that you took from me, or some shit, I don't know. He didn't even know that it wasn't even May. That's hilarious. Anyways, as the flashback came to an end, and Harley proclaimed his want for revenge in the present time, James whispered to Meowth that something seemed a little off about Harley's story. It's like he didn't believe that May was actually the one that took his food or some shit, because, you know, May was usually kind. But Jessie, on the other hand, even though Meowth agreed with James, totally agreed with Harley's story and thought that he was telling the truth fully and all that, and agreed to help him, admitting that she felt very bad for Harley and would make sure to end May so that she could never enter a Pokemon contest again. Meowth and James tried to warn Jessie that Harley could have been lying about his story or some shit, but Jessie yelled at them, assuring them that this wasn't the case. Harley then sent out Cacturne and Bennett, who he called his pretty boys, and commanded them to help out Jessie in her upcoming contest to defeat May, telling them that if they defeated May, then she would not be able to enter the upcoming Grand Festival. Cacturne and Bennett didn't really care about this, though. In fact, Cacturne just greeted Jessie and immediately jumped on her, hugging her tight, since it had a crush on Jessie. Bennett watched, on the other hand, embarrassed by Cacturne's behavior, as Harley remarked that it looked like Jessie's made quite the beautiful impression on Cacturne already, and told her that his Pokemon would like her. He was sure of it, although he warns Jessie that she should use his Pokemon well, and she must knock May out of the contest at all costs. And also advised Jessie that if she wanted to defeat May, then she should praise his own Pokemon, and May would praise her back. And Cacturne and Bennett definitely confirmed this, as Cacturne continued to hug Jessie wildly, and Bennett smiled, while James, Meowth, and Wobbuffet watched awkwardly at the whole situation. Later, inside the contest hall, Lillian was informing the audience that had gathered inside the contest hall, filling up every single seat, that the contest was about to begin. And she hyped them up, saying that it would be a very, very, very good contest, because it would be the last contest before the Grand Festival, therefore being the last chance for many coordinators to be successful and make it there. We then see that Harley, along with Ash, Brock, and Max, were all watching from the stands as Lillian introduced the 3 regular judges, who all said their usual stuff: Mr. Contesta, Mr. Sukizo, and Nurse Joy. And once that was done, she displayed the prize of the contest, the mulberry ribbon. And May observed this from the coordinator waiting room, which made her think of her entire journey thus far, including the fact that Drew and Harley already had 5 ribbons for the Grand Festival, and she didn't. Just then, Jessie, disguised as Jezebella, came over to May and greeted her, telling May that she would win no matter what. May admired Jessie's determination, so she smiled and held out her hand as a sign of friendship, but obviously May didn't realize that this was Jessie, and Jessie said that she would not shake May's hand because May was her rival, not her friend. May was put in a more sour mood, as she said that she would be the one that would get the ribbon and win in that case, and all the other coordinators heard this, and both May and Jessie got stared at by all the other coordinators with hatred for them declaring that they were going to win, because they needed to win as well, because it was their last chance to get the ribbon they needed. May and Jessie were kind of intimidated by all the coordinators staring at them, but they both took deep breaths and remembered that they would have to do their best in order to prove that they deserved to have the ribbon, as opposed to all the other coordinators. May then smiles at Jessie and laughs, admitting that it was kind of silly to be acting nervous, and Jessie actually agreed with this, ending the conversation, leading May to remember the advice that Ash gave her, which was to trust her Pokemon, no matter what. Back at Lillian, she was continuing to get the crowd excited for the contest, and officially declared it started as Drew walked into the contest hall, into one of the stands, so that he could watch over the progress of all the contestants and see if there was anyone he had to worry about for the Grand Festival. Without further ado, the first round of the contest begins, the appeals round. And first we see appeals from a Clefable, Bellsprout, Coughing, Feraligatr, Meryl, Altaria, Clamperl, and Bagon. And they were all very good. Brock, Ash, and Max certainly thought so, although they were more so waiting for May to show up. However, Lillian then introduced the next coordinator, and it wasn't May, but Jessie, under the pseudonym Jezebel, of course. So she came out onto the stage happily and greeted the crowd, blowing them a kiss before sending out one of Harley's Pokemon, Cacturn, saying that while all the contestants were good, she would be the best, and started off by telling Cacnea to use a needle arm. And following this, Jessie throws a carrot and a turnip into the air, and has Cacturn slice both of them up with its needle arm, and she then holds out a plate, and all the small, chopped up pieces of the 2 vegetables land on a plate, forming a pile, greatly impressing Lillian and the crowd as they cheered. May and several other coordinators who watched from the waiting room were amazed as well, hoping that they would do as good. While Ash and Brock expressed how impressed they were with Jezebel and her Cacturn, and Max stating that Jezebel's Cacturn was a lot better than Harley's, although unbeknownst to him, this Cacturn was Harley's. Speaking of Harley, he was clapping up a storm, very proud of his own Cacturn. Jessie then orders Cacturn to use a cotton spore and immediately follow up with Bullet Seed, which hits the cotton spores and by proxy covers the entire arena with sparkling cotton spores, impressing the audience, including Ash, Max, and Brock, and all the judges, as the judges all state their own little congratulations to Jessie for having such a great performance. Harley thought the performance was great as well, not just with his Cacturn, but with Jessie herself as well, and claps immensely. Lillian then calls May out, so Brock, Max, and Ash cheer immensely, while May proposes proudly, surrounded by the spotlight, really taking it in, hoping that this would be her last contest, and she was trying to act as confident as possible. May was wished luck by Ash from the stands, who yelled down at her, and Harley was actually talking to James and the elf through an earpiece, indicating that they were planning a little sabotage for May. This sabotage came into action immediately because May spun around, doing a fancy move as she was about to send out her combustion, but she happened to trip onto the ground, leading Lillian to go up to her and ask if she was okay. While the audience, including Ash, Brock, and Max, reacted in shock, Drew watched in disappointment, and Harley laughed, indicating that yes, he, James, and the elf were behind this. Anyways, May gets up and confirmed that she was fine, with Lillian admitting that sometimes the hall could be pretty slippy, not wanting to think that May might manage to just be clumsy and fall. Harley then tells James to get ready again, and we see what James was doing to fuck with May. Essentially, Meowth and James were controlling Harley's Ariados, telling it to use its sticky web onto the floor with no one noticing, which caused May to slip and fall. Anyways, May finally sent out Combuskin for real this time, and immediately ordered it to use a Mega Kick. Just as Combuskin was going to do so, though, it tripped and fell when it jumped in midair. Basically, it slipped, but it already managed to jump in the air, so it fell to the ground, leading May to run over to Combuskin and ask if it was okay. But before she could make it to Combuskin, she tripped as well over Ariados's spider web. While Lillian stared at both May and Combuskin, shocked that they both fell over. Yeah, that's right. James and Meowth had caused both May and Combuskin to fall. This didn't go unnoticed, though, because Pikachu had spotted something glowing up at the top of the contest hall, like on the little railings that were just above the stands, and alerted Ash to what he saw. So Ash saw it too, and figured that there must have been something suspicious going on, and ran up to where James and Meowth were, thereby discovering that James and Meowth and Ariados were in fact behind the tripping, leaving Meowth and James shocked that Ash and Pikachu had found them. We then cut back down to the stage where May threw a frisbee and ordered Combuskin to use Sky Uppercut to jump up and hit it after they both got up, but just as Combuskin was about to hit the frisbee, it missed because it got tripped up by more web yet again that Ariados had just released. Ash ordered James and Meowth to stop what the fuck they were doing, but they refused, so Ash and Pikachu tried to use Quick Attack on James and Meowth and Ariados, but Ariados managed to stop Pikachu by pinning him to the handrail with its spiderweb attack, making Ash panic, not knowing what to do. Anyways, we then cut back down to the stage with May ordering Combuskin to use a Fire Spin, silently praying that this attack would actually work. And thankfully, the attack does work, as Combuskin surrounds itself in flames, which Drew thought was mildly impressive. Harley was furious, contacting James and Meowth, wondering why the fuck Combuskin wasn't getting tripped up like it was supposed to be. But as the Fire Spin ended up lighting the spiderwebs that were on the ground on fire, burning them up, and letting the flames go even higher, much to May's shock, the judges all admit how impressed they were with May's skills, thinking that she was not even utilizing the burned spiderweb, and instead just exerting great control with Combuskin. Harley finally realized what was going on, and contacted James and Meowth again, demanding to know why the fuck they were doing anything, and instructing them to trip up May and Combuskin again, although James answers Harley, and informs him that he was too busy dealing with Ash and Pikachu, as Meowth ordered Ariados to attack Pikachu while it was trapped to the rail, leading Ash and Pikachu to panic, while Ash tried to get Pikachu unstuck from the rail, and Ariados crawled forward towards Ash and Pikachu, preparing the Shadow Ball attack. But just then, the flames from the Fire Spin that had been going higher and higher and higher and higher finally ended up reaching the area where James and Meowth were, and engulfed Ariados, stopping it from using Shadow Ball because it was in too much pain. This leads Meowth and James to panic as they try their best to put the fire out that was engulfing Ariados by shaking it around, but this just causes the flames to scatter across the remainder of Ariados' spiderweb and burns the spiderweb surrounding Pikachu, making Pikachu free. This makes Meowth angry as he stops trying to put out the fire on Ariados and instead focuses on attacking Ash and Pikachu with Fury Swipes. But before Meowth could actually land the Fury Swipes, Pikachu counterattacked with a devastating Iron Tail, blasting James, Meowth, and Ariados off through the stadium ceiling. Ash then shouts down to May that he's dealt with the problems that she had before, and May understood what Ash meant. Not understanding the part about James and Meowth, obviously, she didn't know they were behind it, but she was just glad that she wouldn't mess up anymore, and confidently tried the Sky Uppercut thing again, where she threw a Frisbee into the air and told Combuskin to Sky Uppercut it. Combuskin then jumped out of the massive tornado of flames that had been created and sent the Frisbee right back to May with Sky Uppercut. Amazing Lillian, the judges, Ash, Brock, Max, and Drew. May instantly threw the Frisbee right back at Combuskin, telling it to use a Mega Kick as its final move, while Harley screamed in anger from the audience at the fact that James and Meowth weren't able to do anything to stop May's performance. Anyways, Combuskin did use Mega Kick, sending the Frisbee back to May again, and May caught it gracefully, causing the crowd to cheer. As Combuskin landed elegantly on the ground, and the three judges, as well as Lillian, commented on how amazing May's appeal was, saying that Combuskin had balance, speed, and power. May then thanked all the judges, bowing to them, relaxed with the fact that the judges had liked her performance, although when she went backstage in the waiting room, she sat down, tired, stressed that her performance may not have been enough, and she was also wondering what the fuck Ash had done to stop her and Combuskin from tripping anyways. Jesse, who was also in the coordinator waiting room, was watching May and smiled to herself, thinking that May's performance definitely wouldn't have made her pass into the next round because of James and Meowth's interference. Just then, Brock, Ash, and Max come in to the waiting room to congratulate May on doing the best that she could, and Ash informs May that it was Team Rocket trying to eliminate her that caused her and Combuskin to fall. Knowing this relaxes May, essentially assuring her that it wasn't her and Combuskin that were the problem, which infuriates Jessie, because she didn't want to see May all confident. Right as May said that it wasn't that big of a deal that Team Rocket messed with her anyways, Ash and Gay and Jessie all directed their attention, along with the other coordinators in the room, to the screen that was showing the inside of the stage where Lillian was, as she was announcing the top 8 coordinators that were moving on to the contest battles. And much to May and Jessie's relief, they had made it to the battle rounds, along with 6 more random-ass people, leaving Harley furious that May had advanced. Ash, Brock, and Max then wished May luck, as she expressed confidence in herself, and Brock commented that they would do everything in their power to make sure that Team Rocket couldn't interfere with her battle round performances. A little while later, Harley had went up to the roof area where James, Meowth, and now Jessie were located. He was currently soothing his Ariados from its injuries that it got from Pikachu. And he screamed at Team Rocket for their failure, saying that May was still in the contest despite all of the scheming Team Rocket did, and that shouldn't have been possible. James and Meowth begged for forgiveness, and Jessie promised that she would do her best in the next round to at least make sure that she would win and May wouldn't. Harley simply said that she'd better eliminate May, and she better be ruthless while doing so. And with that, Harley recalled Ariados to his Pokeball and angrily stampeded out of the room. Jessie wasn't fazed by this though, remaining determined to win the contest, and also help out Harley and get revenge against May in the process, so she could become a top coordinator and not face Harley's wrath. James and Meowth asked her how she planned to do this, although Jessie assured them that she had a plan.